Well, there you are, and here we are. It is the Place That Tune podcast. This podcast is going somewhere. I am Mackin. He is
Kody.
And we review songs and the geography of songs, find out a little bit more about what was going on in the song, where it was going, and what the geography meant to the lyrics, to the music, what's going on in that place today, what could go on in the future, what never went on. We talk about things that we talk about realities that may not have been. Kody, have you ever been in a reality that was not?
Of a cleared state of mind, I don't know. That's a hard question to ask.
It is one of those existential questions that we ask ourselves as brooding teenagers that never gets answered, really. Well, in 1995, Elton John somehow squished the album Made in England into the space between the original Lion King soundtrack and 1996's Love Songs. An album a year. This was his, this is where he was at. This was his bread and butter, an album a year after. And, you wonder, how did he do after the Lion King?
He did that, and then a few years later did the soundtrack for El Dorado. He was really pumping it out after.
Very active in the 90s. The guy was like running around singing with George Michael. It was a nutty time for Elton John.
And he had just gotten out a few years before with the rehab situation, didn't he? Was it late 80s or so?
I think once a decade he's in there. Just to reset, just to refresh. Made in England is the 24th studio album by Elton John. It was released, of course, in 1995. Produced by him and Greg Penny for the first time since Leather Jackets without Chris Thomas. It was dedicated to Elton John's boyfriend at the time and future husband David Furnish. It was the last album to feature regular percussionist Ray Cooper until 2016's Wonderful Crazy Night.
Was he publicly out at that point, or do you think he was like a secret kind of still kept at that time? Because I couldn't remember when he kind of came out publicly.
Man. I think by the mid 90s, I think he was out. I was trying to go back in my brain because this was kind of an enigma to me. The fact that in the 80s, it was like a rumor, and I'm like, and I remember, first of all, as a kid, I remember not caring. And secondly, I'm like, well, how doesn't as my brain matured enough to fathom such topics as this? I wonder. I remember wondering, who the hell cares? It was something. Everybody knew. Nobody talked about it. It was the don't ask, don't tell period of time in America, which was a silly. Bill Clinton, come on now, don't ask, don't tell. But. I've thought about this a few times in my life. The Elton John conundrum, where in the 80s it was rumor. He comes out in the 90s and everybody's like, yeah, okay, and then he's like, he's a worldwide treasure. As he leaves the 90s. The guy has done everything, and including a stay in rehab every decade.
I was going to say, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Ray Charles when you got to the later part of his career, where you kind of saw he still was doing shows, and he was still doing like these big shows going into the 90s, 2000s, and everything like that. But it felt like he was a lot more, I don't know in my mind, but I feel like he was a lot more doing like the soundtracks for films, working with producers.
Well, that is big money. Those soundtracks are it just set.
The commercials and everything, and
at that point, really, he was already set for life. But it took him into another stratosphere, almost like Paul McCartney type money.
And he still performs really well. Yeah. I went to his performance. It was the only time I've ever seen him live.
Okay.
When he was in Portland this last year.
Okay.
And that is probably one of my favorite concerts I've ever been to.
Oh, okay.
Even when he was doing the Yellow Brick Road tour, he still was like, everybody was jacked to see him. First off, because it was his last performance down there in the Northwest. And, like everybody in the building had like a great atmosphere. He still plays really well, at least from what I've heard. And it was a phenomenal concert, at least to check out.
I did see Elton John perform live once at the Moda Center many, like, I think it had to be 12 years ago, something like that, 10, 12 years ago, when he was touring with Billy Joel.
Oh yeah,
they've toured together a few times, and I had nosebleeds on that one, and
that's a good combo. Billy Joel.
It was, I mean, yeah, the two piano masters, coming together, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like Billy Joel went first, and then Elton at some point just kind of shot through the stage. Like it launched him up out of the thing at his piano, and he just started wailing on that thing.
Didn't he have
very dramatic?
Didn't he have like a feather hat or something when he did the performance? He always has like the craziest outfit. He's probably one of the best dressed artists that go out and perform at these different locations.
Yeah, he and his hats have been that's a theme for him. Glasses and hat, yeah. Since the early part of his career. This song, Made in England, written, of course, by Bernie Taupin. The title track was released on May 8th, 1995. While Taupin gets the writing credit here, I really feel like the lyrics in this song come from Elton John and his life experience. It's too personal. Like, you look at the other songs that Bernie wrote for Elton to sing, and they're kind of there's almost a general feel to them. There's a grandiose, there's a big story behind them. This is like when you watch the video and you listen to the lyrics, they're kind of personal.
But it's still got that modern, like for 1995, modern kind of feel.
The modern Elton John. You're right. Yeah, it's not the honky cat. It's not the twang from the 70s.
It still has that really good feel. Like, you can tell he's trying to get a point across and tell his story.
It's the song. It's a little confusing to me, and when you look at the lyrics, because I feel like the title, it's misleading. When I hear the title "Made in England," I'm expecting every stanza to be jam packed with English references, bangers and mash. I want tea. I want the Queen in there. And in the first line of the song, he mentions Cadillac muscle. That's American, man. The line is, I was made in England. This is the very first line of the song. I was made in England out of Cadillac muscle. Now, how does that happen? In the country that gives us Rolls Royce, in the company, that gives us those silly scooters.
Well, he was in the Pioneer area when he growing up. That's considered like a wealthy suburb area. I can't remember if it was in the 50s and 60s, but today it's seen as more of a wealthy area, and so I could see maybe that kind of connection through there.
I don't know. When I think of Cadillac, the first thing I think of is not England, and certainly not Elton John. But other American reference, and that's not the last of it. The other American references in the first three stanzas: Little Richard, that Georgia Peach, which is Little Richard's nickname, the boy from Tupelo, which is Elvis Presley, and
boy from Tupelo is fun.
What's that?
It's like I had to think on that reference, the boy from Tupelo.
Well, a lot of people, you think Elvis, you think Memphis. He was born in Tupelo, Mississippi. He's from Mississippi. But the lyrics about Little Richard and Elvis kind of, I thought about that for a minute. If Elvis and Little Richard had a baby, it would be Elton John. The flamboyance of Little Richard, the stage presence of Elvis, put those together. Who do you get? Elton John.
He doesn't have the same movements as Elton John did. I'm sorry, as Elvis did. But he definitely still, in his younger days,
very active on stage.
Very
active on stage. My favorite lyric of this song, though, has to be face down on a playground crying, God sent me a brother, not a bloody nose for rock and roll. That's very deep. I think he's referring to Bernie and that's why I think this is from Elton John's aspect, because I think he's referring to Bernie Taupin here, and that God didn't curse him for being a rock and roll star. But that's we're deep into the song here. What did you learn about England?
Well, like you said, it touches in a lot of different areas, and not just mostly in London, also like in different random spots. For example, like he talks about Blackpool Beach, along with Elton John, Hyde Park, which is in is it Doncaster? I think it's
Doncaster.
Doncaster. Which, if you watch the video, there's
it may even be Doncaster.
Doncaster,
depending on the accent.
We're gonna butcher. I'm gonna butcher at least half of the names of these cities and everything.
Yeah, right.
But I know there's the picture. Like when you're watching the video, it looks like the guy who's mooning the camera with his UK boxer shorts that are of the flag and everything. He basically moons and then runs away from the field. I guarantee that was in the Hyde Park, it felt like, at least, in the music video. So like there's a lot of references. I mainly looked at like a lot of the different stuff from the UK area in London, which is obviously more popular area in the United Kingdom. And basically, well, the funny thing about it is that whole area, like you can tell if, like with Elton John, where he was and kind of where he grew up, it was very diverse area in terms of where he went to when he got a little bit older. England itself is super diverse. One of probably the more diverse areas. About 25% of London's residents are born outside of England.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I know they have a big Indian presence there.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense when you think of the location and kind of where they are.
Sure.
They've had a lot of different falls. Obviously, people who know the history of England itself, they were a conquering, basically the birthplace of the conquering country, going out and colonizing all over these different locations around the world.
The sun never sets on the British Empire.
Oh, yeah. So what's funny is I tried to focus on a lot of different fun facts currently in England. What's funny is that they are, there's just no surprise. They're so obscure, doesn't matter which location in England you go into, they are just so, you'll find the most random facts or random things, whether it's a festival, whether it's just a location. Like, for example, in the Blackpool Beach, it's a resort area during World War II. There was obviously the German occupation that came through in that area where they were trying to, during World War II, it was seen as a residential beach location, very popular after the war. And then, obviously, its main passion was tourism, and that's how it thrives. They have a roller coaster there called the Big One.
Very original name.
Yeah.
Now, is this the one that appeared in the video?
I think so.
Okay.
It
would make sense.
It was quick though. I thought it was a Ferris wheel at first because there's the Ferris wheel that's in. But
they do show a roller coaster, and I think it is on Blackpool Beach.
Mm-hmm.
There's the amusement park there.
Mm-hmm. And it's the Pleasure Beach. Gosh, the big one. If you look at the photo of it, it looks like a fun roller coaster, like the ones you would find at Six Flags.
Okay.
They have the zoo that's really popular down there. In terms of Doncaster, I'm going to say it like Doncaster probably.
Sure.
Not as much known that I looked up, at least, other than it's a big, just residential location. There weren't many very positive reviews that I found about it for some reason. I don't know if it was just from the sites that I was looking through. But there was not that many.
The locals don't like it?
The locals, they were saying, before you move into this location, you should know about these different things, kind of.
Well, before we leave Blackpool Beach, can we just visit for a moment with the creepy ice cream truck driver that makes an appearance in this video? I
didn't think it was as creepy, just because I felt like it
fit. You know what?
It fits
that dude's creepy, man.
It fits that, I don't know. Maybe it's just me because I'm thinking of Black Hole Sun. The song that.
Okay, well
that one.
Okay,
is fun, but I feel like in terms of that mid-90s
greasy hair, he's just like, hey, you want to buy some ice cream? I feel like he's also selling firearms out of that truck and fireworks. Any number of illicit items. You go to Harv, that's his name. Harv, the ice cream truck driver down to Blackpool Beach.
That's a good name for an ice cream driver.
He'll hook you up with what you need. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so some other facts. So, right now, number one. All right, so for England, I'm sorry, for London, there's a few other kind of funny things I found. In terms of funny laws that they have for that area, if you take a stamp of the Queen's high regard in England,
like a postage stamp?
Yeah, postage stamp. It is basically considered an act of treason to take a stamp of the Queen and post it upside down on an envelope.
But it's okay to lick her back. It's quite okay.
I wonder if it's the same insult if you were to do that with like the U.S. flag. Like I don't feel like that's something that like a U.S. flag stamp if you put that on letters.
I think the only person allowed to lick the Queen's back is the King, right? Or Prince. What's his name? Prince, not her son.
Wait. You're saying Prince?
No. She's married to Prince Philip. That's
Prince Philip.
Yeah, that's the guy she's married to. The German dude. Yeah, I think he's the only one that's safely allowed to lick the Queen's back. But I heard she likes it.
Heyo.
Wow, this went to a weird place. Also,
yeah.
we're licking the back of the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think we were gonna go there today.
I meant to try and take us away from that. London's been named several things over its long history. Londonum, like Londinium.
Londinium, I think it was.
Londinium.
Yeah.
Londonwick, and Lundenburg.
Oh.
Which
okay.
I hadn't heard that one yet.
No, and that's very Germanic.
I couldn't find the dates exactly for these names, but they were like a little bit older. I think it was 1700s for one of them to about mid 1700s, and then Big Ben, the clock that's in the big It's actually not the name of the clock is Big Ben.
Oh,
Big Ben's actually refers to the bell that tolls within Big Ben.
Oh, I think I knew that once upon a time, but
I think they changed it too. Like in the last few years, they did a major upgrade of the clock, so it wasn't chiming like it used to.
Oh, it's digital now.
No, yeah, the day they put like a digital like clock up there. But what's funny is they actually had, I think it was, mid 2000s, they had some birds that they said that actually flew and landed on the minute dial of the clock, and the weight of the birds actually made it fall back 5 minutes.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
It's like, for something that big, for a flock of birds to move the needle that much.
I mean, where was it? I mean, it's not a Swiss movement, I know, but I mean, some birds can break your minute hand. Come on, Big Ben. I've been there, and I can tell you, at least in 2014, Big Ben is a noisy bitch. I mean, just chimes and bells and ringing, and it just seems like there's
every 15 minutes,
something,
right?
There's always something going on. I mean, I was only in downtown London for like a day. It got annoying. I wasn't the only one. The other tourists, Japanese tourists, Swiss tourists, whoever it was, they were like, shut that freaking thing up.
I'm sure they tone it out after. It's like my grandparents had a grandfather clock, and when we would go down, and it chimed every 15 minutes. You hear it, and you would just kind of like, I think I would be toned to it. I think if I were to go to London. Well,
when we look at the song, what is your? I mean, did you like the song?
I really
as a musical piece.
Okay, I really like Elton John, so I think I like it a little bit better, but it's not his best. Like for me,
agreed.
Yeah, he has some really good songs, and the fact that it's sandwiched between, like the Lion King. He had El Dorado. Like those are two soundtracks that I actually really enjoy from him.
Sure.
Let's see here. His was it not Diamond Project? I'm thinking the Portland team. I think it is the Diamond Edition or Diamond album that I got from him in like just before seeing his concert this last year. I got the songs from there. Still Standing is still one of my favorite.
Okay.
Born in Philadelphia? I recently got.
Is it Philadelphia Freedom?
Philadelphia Freedom.
Okay,
there we go.
Okay,
Not born in Philadelphia. Born in England.
Yeah.
Philadelphia
Freedom.
Yeah. And I would say, I mean, like Crocodile Rock Saturday Night's probably my favorite.
Okay.
Saturday Night.
I'm in that category with you.
And did you see his I'm sorry,
Rocket Man.
Yeah, Rocket Man.
The biopic, yes, I did see it. And I think there's a good reason this song doesn't appear in that movie, doesn't get mentioned in that movie.
Well, it's a dramatization. Tells a little bit about his history, but it's not very clean. And people know that when they go into it. It's like a dramatization of his whole life. And the music's great in it.
Yeah.
It's a really good way of telling a story. It felt like you were watching a Broadway show.
Sure. But I think for good reason, this song does not even come near that movie.
No.
For some reason, Austria loved this album. Made in England made it to number 9 in the Austrian charts in 1995, and the single spent a few weeks at number 1 in Austria. In other countries, I think there was a point where people just bought an album because it said Elton John on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the mid-90s was that time. I think that was when Elton John came out with a new album. You went out to the record store and you bought it.
Mm-hmm. And it's not a really good look. It's literally it looks like the classic photo of Steve Jobs when he did with the black turtleneck.
We're talking about the album cover now?
Yeah, the album cover. Okay. If you look at it,
I didn't see it, but
it's him in a black turtleneck with the 90s bowl cut. His look in the 90s is not very...
It was... Yeah, he was pretty pedestrian at this point, but overall... I have to say, I do not like this song.
I enjoyed it a little bit more than maybe that's just because I really like Elton John's music.
I know, and I think maybe if I'd listened to it, because I hadn't heard it in, I don't know, 20 years? I don't know. But I think that listening to it in preparation for this podcast, watching the video maybe was not the best idea, because in the video, he is just phoning it in. I mean, he appears on a little TV screen, and he's not moving a lot. He's just kind of singing the words, and there's all the action is happening around him, and he's not really part of any of the action. He's like aside from it.
I will say, listening to the music without seeing the video is a little bit different than
maybe. You know what? I got to start doing it. I think
because I did it, but first just listening to the music and not watching the video, and then I switched it and watched the video to go with the music, and I felt like, I don't know, maybe that was why I seemed like, okay, it's not a bad song. But then
is that how you talk to yourself in your brain?
Just say
that's how I talk to myself. So if you do it too, we're peas in a pod, Kody.
Mm-hmm.
I think going forward, I will listen to the song, whatever it is, without the video. Unless, but I mean, I'm always going to have my opinion going in, because unless it's an obscure song like you did for Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
I was going to say,
I've heard all of these. I've heard all of these. So
that was better. Can we at least agree that was a better shot music video than the Johnstown, Pennsylvania one? I still can't get over that one. That one looked like it was shot like a high school.
Yeah, but one had a
high
budget.
School class.
One had a budget, the other did not. And one had that if Elton John's involved with a project, there's a large budget put forth to get him to do, or maybe not. Maybe not, because
the budget's going for the outfits for everything and everybody.
And that creepy ice cream truck driver had some sort of heroin habit that he had to feed. But I don't know. To compare those two videos, in my mind, because I'm from Johnstown and I don't know, but I've been to England, and I was hoping for a song that really encapsulated England when you said, let's do this one, and I'm like, yes, Brexit is on everybody's tongue. Let's find out more about this. And when I saw the video, I'm like, come on, Elton John. I know it's the mid-90s, and nobody was really excited about the mid-90s. So what you're saying
is I've lost my music choice.
No. This is a good choice, because Brexit is at the front of it's on the front burner right now.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, earlier today, every day there's been more and more weird Brexit news. They keep putting off this vote. You were telling me they've been doing this for literally years now. It feels like years that this vote by the EU ambassadors has been coming, and then they propose. And Britain wants another extension, and they have to. So these ambassadors for the EU have to vote on that.
Europe Trump. I don't know how much confidence I have him.
Zero confidence on the Brexit vote from Kody Tarbell. I'll be honest. All I know is that there was the European Union and Britain as a country wants out of this union. Is that a good summation of what's going on in Brexit?
It feels like there's like at this point they're all kind of like, let's just try and find a way to get this taken care of, and at least the citizens are just like, just get it over with in there.
Well, I remember being there, and in most of the countries I traveled to in Europe, you used the euro, and then when I got to England, it was like if you used the euro, they got all sniffy, and they wanted you to use the sterling pound, and so it was especially problematic to get money changed over because I didn't know what to like. Do I get euros? Do I get the pounds? So you kind of get. I already had some euros, luckily, so I did get some pounds, and so I made do. And I'll tell you what I remember about leaving Europe when we were on our way back home to the good old U.S. There's something that would probably never happen here. We were down to our last English money. I mean, and we had to pay the guy in the van to get us to the airport. And during the ride realized, and doing some quick math, we weren't going to have enough money to pay this guy in full. So halfway through the trip, I'm like, sir, we done run out of money, like a dumb American. And he's like, how short? And I told him, and he's like, it's okay. He said, he said a lot of times Americans don't even have any money, and we just take you to the airport to get rid of you.
Oh,
so it was like a couple bucks short, but he still took it and got us to the airport on time. But Brexit, not as easy an exit, it sounds like. I feel like there were, riots. Were there riots about Brexit?
I don't want to say yes just because I haven't followed it recently, but there was some. Well, obviously Hong Kong has their situation that's been going on.
Yeah, it takes a lot to get the English into a riot. Like you don't hear there were riots in London today. You don't hear that too often.
Well, it depends on if you're in the bar or not. Well, technically, you can't get hammered in the bars, and
you can't.
No, that's actually one of the other things I found out was
what about soccer hooligans?
Well, that's a different story. They can only control only so much, but apparently, like in England, it's in certain areas. If you're in a bar, you can't be there.
Cut you off?
Well, you can't be there and get yourself intoxicated through the whole bar. You can get yourself buzzed to a certain point, but they will make sure that you aren't getting yourself, because that same thing happens in U.S. bars, but more to the extent of they will make sure that you aren't, and it's for that same reason for soccer
hooliganism.
Hooliganism, yeah.
Hooliganism. Well, I guess, but you can get drunk in an English bar. I saw it. I saw people getting drunk in English bars. I definitely saw people getting drunk at Irish bars. That's in fact, you can't leave a pub in Ireland unless you're drunk. So Brexit it may or may not happen in our lifetimes. They're just going to keep. I think they just want to keep fighting. Without Brexit, there's like no drama in England.
I love how we went from Elton John to transition to breakfast, and that I think this is like the combination from the music video frustration, like right into like the Brexit buildup of.
I wonder. I'm going to have to look after we're done here. I'm going to go look and see if he's released any opinions on Brexit. I bet he hasn't. I bet he just keeps.
He's kind of he's free to he does speak his mind on a lot of different things. Yeah. He's not afraid of that, but I didn't look into it. It felt like he hasn't said too much in regards to
whatever the opposite of the conservative majority thinks. I think that's the way he's.
But he's also somebody who so often speaks his mind. So if people hear it, it'd be like if the Queen of England said something that was really far out of left field, more people would be shocked by what she would say than if he was for somebody who's already like always speaking out like these.
Yes, but Kody, you're talking about a woman who gets her back licked regularly by the entire country of England, and that's how we're going to finish today. Why not? Let's finish on the Queen. Prince Philip.
Hey, you go first.
All right. Hey,
I'm not doing it like that.
God. I see how you are now. I see how you are.
Hey, you're the one that brought it down that way.
All right. Well, this is and has been the Place That Tune podcast. This podcast is going somewhere. The geography of music is all over the map, and we are legend. I am Mackin. He is
Kody.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.